This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, welcome in. It's time for Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo, taking you through your Thursday night, ultimately into your Friday morning as the show continues. We've got a busy one. Day one of the Masters is in the books. We've got some light slates on the diamond in Major League Baseball, the NBA as well. We're going to get to all of that here on the program. One NBA game still going on. It looks like, according to reports, we'll have one baseball game resuming. Should have been over at least an hour ago, but the Braves and Phillies in about a 2-hour rain delay down there in Atlanta. And looks like they're going to be resuming in 30 minutes or so. Jesus Luzardo, Spencer Schwellenbach, both turned in really strong starts. One earned run allowed by each, so they stay under their respective earned run props. Believe they also stayed under on K props by the hook. We'll take a look at that game as it resumes here shortly. Over in the NBA, we've got third quarter action between the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies. High-scoring affair down there in southwestern Tennessee, but it's been all Minnesota in the third quarter. T-Wolves on a 17-3 run to open up the second half. They lead Memphis now after trailing at halftime by 5. They currently lead 84-75. Ant-Man's got 29. He's going to have 30 points, one would assume, before the third quarter wraps up. We'll get live odds on that one momentarily. How about the great guest list that our terrific producer, Jared Moore, has put together for this program? We're going to be talking baseball here shortly with Clay Link, Rotowire's MLB analyst. Then, hour 2, Josh Fisher joins the program, a day late and $1 short from his usual spot, but We'll link up with Josh, talk some baseball bets for the weekend to come, and some NBA as we get ready for next week's play-in games, the regular season winding down. And then Greg Peterson, VSiN's own college hoops expert, the man who correctly predicted the Final Four and Florida winning it all. He'll be joining the show to talk a little baseball. We'll do some series prices, some individual games on Friday, and more as the show moves along. How about day one of the Masters? We'll get you the leaderboard. It was a day for Justin Rose as he sits 3 strokes ahead of Scotty and Ludwig the Swede and Connors the Canadian. Those 3 tied for second at 4 under. Justin Rose, 7 under. That is about as good a day one as you could ask for down in Augusta. We'll take a look at how that's shifted the odds for the Masters. Obviously, you don't want to overreact too heavily to day one. Scotty coming in second place at 4 under, still probably going to be your big favorite there. So we'll pull up the odds board down in Augusta, and Scotty is still the favorite. 5-1 though. So $1 longer than he opened at, was 4-1. And right now we're seeing Rory right behind him at 6-1. Xander Schauffele has come down to 10-1. John Rahm still sitting there at 12-1. Could that be right? No. Excuse me. This is the PGA Championship I'm looking at over on DraftKings, not the Masters. The Masters are on your screen. Pardon my, for some reason I hit PGA on DraftKings, and it took us to the wrong tournament. Scotty's sitting there a little longer than 2-1. Here we go, the Masters. Scotty at 2-1, Ludwig at 6-1, Bryson DeChambeau plus 650, Justin Rose, your leader, plus 750, and Rory sitting there at 12-1. His price has nearly doubled. Some other guys who had notable day ones like Corey Connors, 18-1 on your screen. Colin Morikawa, he was a popular pick. He's sitting there at 25-1. How about the kid, Akshay Bhatia? 45-1. It's a long price, but he is, I believe that's top 12 or so. Yeah, top 12 in terms of where the board lies. Patrick Reed, down a tick from 100-1 to 80-1. And, I mean, you've just seen some guys with disappointing day ones absolutely fall. Like John Rahm, who was the third shot on the board coming into this thing at 13-1. He is now, how many zeros is that? My goodness. 110-1, Jon Rahm. It was 13-1. He was the third shot on the board. Now, Tommy Fleetwood is a shorter shot than Jon Rahm. So some guys have just, bad day one, and they have completely fallen down the ranks. It'll be interesting to see if Rahm even makes the cut after the opening round that he turned in. But a bunched up field behind Rose. Again, that's Ludwig Aberg, Corey Connors, Scotty Scheffler, all three tied for second at 4 under. DeChambeau and Tyrrell Hatton sitting there at 3 under. And then a whole lot of 1 or 2 under behind them. Folks, the Masters are here, and our partner, ProfitX, is offering the best odds all weekend long. ProfitX is a peer-to-peer sports exchange available in over 40 states, the first of its kind in the U.S. You'll be able to make your sports picks against other groups of fans rather than against the books. Exchanges guarantee you the best odds on average by 10 to 20%. And the best part, you can even request your own odds. Download ProfitX today, code VSiN, earn up to $200 in profit cash over your first month. Let's get back to the NBA game as Minnesota continues to pile on Memphis in the third quarter. I believe the Grizzlies went off laying 2.5 pre-flop, if I'm not mistaken. And this was a spot I thought felt good for Minnesota. Didn't look that way in the first half. I'm sorry, the Timberwolves went off -2. So they were road favorites. And yeah, first half did not look great for the T-Wolves. But that once 17-3 third quarter run is now 26-5. Edwards just hit another 3. He's at 32. Can't make it up. They were down 5 at halftime. They're up 16 just 5 minutes into the third quarter. 26 points in 5 minutes. Put that into perspective. They scored 30 in the second quarter, the entire second quarter. How about this? The Boston Celtics. Last night, we joked about that game at Orlando. Magic won it 96-76. Our producer, Jared Moore, suited up, played 20 minutes for the Celtics in that one. They never scored more than 21 in a single quarter last night against Orlando. The Wolves have 26. There are 7 minutes and 16 seconds remaining in the third quarter. Absolutely crazy. Minnesota just running away with it. They are now 11.5-point favorites in this one. On the diamond, whenever that resumes, well, it's frozen, so I'm not going to read it. It shows what the latest odds were, but it's frozen, so I'll wait until that game does resume. We do have 4 games going on the ice. Kings, Ducks, first intermission. LA leads at 1-0. They've been so good at home all year. I would not want to have to go to crypto and face the Kings come the playoffs. Nashville's just tied it up with Utah. 2-2 here in the third period. And is that another Preds goal? Is that the lead? Is that 3-2 Nashville? It is. Wow, how about that? Down 2-1 on the road just 4 minutes ago, at least at the second intermission. Now, less than 4 minutes into the third period, 2 quick goals for the Predators, and they seem to be sitting pretty. 3-2 lead. A lot of game left, 16:40 to go, but all the momentum in Nashville's favor currently. Other games going on. Had that Winnipeg-Dallas game. That was a big one. How about the Jets? That one's concluded, but a 4-0 win at Dallas. The Stars were nipping on the Jets' heels. Statement by Winnipeg as they make a little push for the President's Trophy here. Looks like they're in good shape. Now 6 points up on Dallas, 3 games to go. Not sure with tiebreakers. I believe Winnipeg clinched the division and the overall 1 seed in the West with that win. Capitals beat the Canes in a shootout, 5-4. Rangers, my goodness, what an offensive barrage at UBS Arena. 9-2. The Rangers win a rivalry game over the Islanders. That's a slaughter, 9-2. You know it's bad when the Islanders are the home team and all 3 stars are Rangers. You know it's really bad then. Sabres fall in Columbus, 3-2. Panthers 4-1 over the Detroit Red Wings. Blackhawks beat the Bruins behind a monstrous third period. 5-2. Chicago in Boston. Pasta got a goal. How about Geeky, huh? Jonathan Davis came on the show yesterday. Bruins only had 2 goals. Geekie scored 1, assisted the other. Jonathan Davis gave them out each. It was, I believe, an assist plus 150, goal plus 170 for Geekie. He gets home on both of those and a pasta goal. Wow. What a night for Jonathan Davis right here on Cashing Out yesterday. Nails both of those, pasta and Geekie, for the Bruins. They're only 2 goal scorers. Kings lead at 2-1. Wow. Second period, each team in 3 minutes has a goal. Not wasting time. Your Las Vegas Golden Knights up 1-0 over the Seattle Kraken. 16 minutes to go in the second there. And the Canucks, fresh off of that historic win against Dallas, down 3, a minute to go in regulation. Tie it, 3 unanswered in the final minute, plus an overtime win. The Canucks lead Colorado on the road, 2-1 here. Not good for the Avalanche as they're trying to gear up for a playoff run. Take a look at the Western Conference standings. So much has been made of the Western Conference standings in the NBA. How about the NHL, huh? The Jets, 112 points, 6 ahead of Dallas. Each team 3 games to play. The Avalanche with 100 points. They're in 3rd in their division. They'd be in 2nd or 1st any other division with their 100 points. That Central is stacked. Good chance they're going to get 5 of the 8 Western Conference playoff teams. Minnesota and St. Louis, 93 points apiece in that Central division. We'll take a look at the day on the diamond. More Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo up next.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, here on a Thursday night, and the Minnesota Timberwolves continue to just absolutely blow it up in Memphis. My goodness. 101-83. Ant-Man up to 36 points. Minnesota, 34 points in under 8 minutes. And actually just barely over 7 minutes in the third quarter. T-Wolves gearing up for the playoffs. This will put them into a tie with the Grizzlies at 47-33. Let's see what the seasons look like. I mean, these tiebreakers, I don't even know if head-to-head matters, because if it's a 6-way tie, it's going to shift and go in a different direction. But let's see what they've done so far this year. The Grizzlies have actually won the first 2. This is their 3rd and final meeting. So if head-to-head plays a factor, Memphis would still have the tiebreaker, regardless of getting embarrassed on their home court here tonight. But when you look at these Western Conference standings, I mean, the Lakers are a win away, 49-31, 2 to play, a win away from clinching the 3 seed. 4 through 8 is some cluster. Minnesota currently the 8 seed. Once they beat Memphis here, you're going to have the 4 and 5 seed, the Nuggets and the Clippers, both 48-32. And then 6, 7, 8, in whatever order that ends up being, Memphis, Golden State, Minnesota, will all be 47-33. Wow. If it comes down to conference record, so the Timberwolves lose head-to-head on the Grizzlies, right? But if it's a 3-way tie, Memphis, Golden State, Minnesota, and I don't know what the next criteria would be, or what the first criteria, rather, for a 3-way tie would be. I don't know if it's aggregate record against one another, or if it's conference record. The T-Wolves have the best conference record out of the 3. Memphis has beaten up on the Eastern Conference. They're hardly above 500 in the West. Golden State, just a couple games better than Memphis against Western Conference foes. Minnesota, 31-19 against its own conference. So if that plays a factor, the T-Wolves with this win could potentially jump into the 6th seed. And that's obviously what everyone wants, right? Get out of the play-in. It'll be interesting to see which 2 teams end up in the play-in in that 7-8. Because there's a good chance they're tied with the 6th, maybe the 5th seed. Wild. 1 game separating 4 through 8 in the West. With this 103-87 lead, 4 to go in the third, Minnesota's laying 12.5 live. They went off -2 at Memphis. Over on the ice. Okay, I thought the issue was my computer earlier, so I restarted it at the break. The issue is DraftKings, because I got live odds no problem for the NBA game going on right now, but not seeing live odds on the hockey. It's still showing Utah-Nashville second intermission, 2-1 Utah on DraftKings. Meanwhile, it's 3-3 with 12.5 to go in the third. So we'll try to find an alternate book to update you live odds on the hockey here shortly before we take it to the Diamond and look at the day that was in Major League Baseball. So here we go. Let's take a look at Boyd since DraftKings, their hockey live page is down. Utah knots it up with Nashville, 3-3. They're laying $1.60 on the money line. Nashville plus 125. Vancouver up 3-1 now at Colorado in the third. So that puck line, Canucks minus 2.5 is plus 35 cents. Avs to cover 2.5 is minus 70 cents. If you think the Avs have a comeback in them, they're 8-1 on the money line. Knights, new puck line with a 2-0 lead against Seattle. Laying 2.5 minus 55 cents. Kraken to cover plus 25 cents. That's 2.5. And then the Kings have added another 3-1 over Anaheim. They're also laying 2.5, but laying $2. That feels a bit unbettable. Minnesota, 18-point lead. Another commercial break here. The Grizzlies just absolutely falling apart. Should be 10 or so minutes away on the Diamond from the Phillies and the Braves resuming. So, folks, we'll get to that as soon as that game does return. But I've got a message for you horse racing fans out there. It's time to get ready because VSiN at the Track, the road to the Kentucky Derby, is live tomorrow and every Friday leading up to the Triple Crown. With key Derby prep races this weekend, we're breaking down the top contenders for this year's run for the Roses. Join experts Mike Somich and Aaron Halterman tomorrow, 2:10 p.m. Eastern, 11:10 a.m. Pacific, on the VSiN YouTube channel at VSiN Live for expert analysis and insights. Don't miss it. VSiN at the Track tomorrow, Friday, 2:10 p.m. Eastern, as we count down to the Triple Crown. No better pony capper out there than VSiN's own Mike Somich. So the Phillies and Braves knotted at 1. Schwellenbach, Luzardo each go 6 innings. Luzardo with 6 Ks. Didn't get there for our 7+. That was the plus money play of the day. Over-under was 5.5, but it was juiced about 50 cents. So it was the kind of thing where, you know, if you're going to go over 5.5, maybe you want to parlay it, but no one really in their right mind is laying 50 cents on a K prop in early April. So Luzardo, we don't get there on 7+ Ks. I'd love to blame the rain delay, but let's call it what it is. He was at 98 pitches through 6 before the rain delay. There was no way in hell he was going back out there for another. So we lose it on the hook. Schwellenbach stays under his K prop as well. They both go under on the earned runs, though, 1 earned each. And, you know, the other thing I was looking at was the first 5 under, and I said it yesterday on Cashing Out. I just couldn't get there at 3.5. If it was 4, 4.5, yes. At 3.5, I couldn't, even though it was plus, I believe, plus $1.20. Well, 1-1 heading into the 7th. That first 5 under got there, even at a low number like 3.5. You know what first 5 under didn't get there? Angels Rays. It was 2-1 going into the 5th, and then the Angels erupted offensively in the 5th inning. My goodness. They put up an 8 spot in the 5th at Tampa. Joe Adell, the youngster who seemingly every year Angel fans keep waiting to see, is this finally Joe Adell's year? Well, this was Joe Adell's day. 2 for 4, 2 home runs, 4 RBI. Both home runs in the 5th inning. How about that? 2 homers in 1 inning. The Angels scored all 8 runs in the 5th via the homer. First, it was Adell with a solo shot. Then Ward, leadoff hitter, with a 2-run shot. Then Mike Trout hit a 2-run shot, and Joe Adell capped it off with a 3-run long ball. Ward also led off the game with a home run, and then Mike Trout added one in the 9th. So Ward, Adell, and Trout all finished with 2 home runs in the Angels' 11-1 rout of Tampa. So they're 8-4 on the season. Some other notables: the Royals edge Minnesota 3-2. They take 3 out of 4 against the Twins. Bobby Witt Jr. go-ahead sac fly in the 7th to give KC the lead for good. And then the Guardians sweep the White Sox, 6-1 Cleveland wins. Stephen Kwan goes yard, drove in 4. How about that? Kwan, not a guy with a lot of pop. Perfect leadoff hitter, high OBP, low strikeout guy. But he drives in 4, including a long ball. Jose Ceraulo, back to the Angels game really quick before we go around the league some more. Ceraulo was sensational. Didn't get there on Ks, and he's usually a guy who's got some good strikeout stuff. Only 4, but 7 2/3, 1 earned run. I love this kid's arm. Just 26 years old, like myself, a product of the year 1998. Had 9 Ks last time out against Cleveland. It's funny, that was his bad start. First start of the year at the White Sox, 7 scoreless, only 5 Ks. Then at home against Cleveland, 5 1/3, 5 earned, 9 Ks. And now another great outing, but another low strikeout outing. 7 2/3 of 1-run ball and just 4 strikeouts. Zach Littell was through 4 innings of 2-run ball for Tampa. Looked all right. Then just got blown up in the 5th. 7 earned for Littell ultimately. Didn't record an out in the 5th. Gave up, 5 in the 5th inning? 5 of the 8 charged to him. Didn't record an out. Gave up 4 of the Angels' 6 home runs as well. For the Guardians, Gavin Williams looked strong. The youngster hasn't been able to put it together yet for a full season in the bigs. Maybe this is the year. He gave him 5 innings of 1-run ball, 7 Ks against the White Sox. Jonathan Cannon went 5 1/3, all 6 runs charged to him. Did strike out 6 in the loss. Kwan, as mentioned, 4 for 5 out of the leadoff spot. Guardians put up 6. Jose Ramirez, Carlos Santana, 2 and 3 hitters, went a combined 0 for 7. It was really all Kwan in this one. Only Brian Rocchio, the 9-hitter, he was the only other Guardian with multiple hits, although Kyle Manzardo did have a nice 2-run homer there in the first inning to actually bring Kwan home and put the Guardians on the board when they were down 1-0. Royals 3-2, we mentioned it. Michael Wacha versus Bailey Ober. 2 guys struggling to start the year, but the game stayed under. Ober, 6 innings, 1-run ball for Minnesota. Only 73 pitches when he got yanked. Michael Wacha, 5 1/3, 2 earned. Both pitchers with 4 Ks. So not much in the strikeout department. Battle of the bullpens. Minnesota's gave up 2. Kansas City's didn't give up anything. Just 2 hits as the Royals bullpen went strong. And the Red Sox fought off the sweep. They win the final game of the series against Toronto. Boston's back to 7-7 on the year. Took extras to do so. 4-3. Red Sox with the comeback win. Down 2-1 going into the bottom of the 8th. And then in the 10th, Jarren Duran tied it down 3-2. Trevor Story, call it a walk-off ground out. How about that? You don't see that too often. More cashing out, more baseball right here with me, Joe Ceraulo, up next.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, getting you ready for your weekend here. Taking you through the late night into your Friday morning on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And now as we gear up for a weekend on the diamond, taking you over to the Progressive guest line, let's talk some baseball. Let's welcome in our friend, senior MLB editor over at Rotowire, Clay Link, into the program. Clay, how you doing, my friend? How have you been enjoying the early goings of this year's MLB season?
Hey, Joe, good to be on with you. It's a pleasure as always. And, I'm enjoying it so far. My Reds, they're not quite fixed all of a sudden with Terry Francona. They're still a work in progress, off to a slow start a bit, but they got their first series win of the year against the Giants, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, they did. It was nice to see Cincinnati on the right side of, a 2-0 win and a 1-0 win that series after losing a couple of 1-0 games in a row to Texas at Great American Ballpark the series prior to that. And then a little offensive eruption that final game, Nick Martinez opposite Justin Verlander. Let's start right there. A couple of 5-8 NL Central squads. Pirates, Reds squaring off this weekend. Brady Singers looked great for Cincinnati. What do you make of this game Friday? The Reds 60-cent favorites.
Well, I think with the Pirates coming in, the Reds have a good chance to get another series win here. And yeah, Brady Singer's been impressive. I like how he fits in Great American Ballpark as like a heavy sinker guy. In theory, shouldn't give up a ton of long balls. And, I think the Reds have a good chance. They are, of course, down Matt McClain now, though, which is a real bummer. I was really high on Matt McClain coming into the season, but the injuries, man, they just keep piling up. for Matt McClain. So the Reds are going to have to make do with what they have right now, and maybe get something out of Blake Dunn. Maybe Noelvi Marte sees some action this weekend. But yeah, I like the Reds tomorrow and this weekend for sure.
But as we continue to look at the Friday slate here, two intriguing teams, the Atlanta Braves, who they're headed to Tampa after, a late night with a rain delay against Philly. And Atlanta 0-7 on the road this season. Tampa Bay, 9 of their 12 games thus far have come at home. Taj Bradley opposite Bryce Elder. What do you think about this game, this series, and the start to Atlanta's season?
Well, I think it's going to be a pretty high-scoring game tomorrow. I think we all kind of expected Steinbrenner Field to play pretty hitter-friendly, but so far it's been even more offense there than I've expected. I think the Angels teed off for 6 home runs today.
Yeah.
So it is going to be tough I like Taj Bradley, but it'll be tough, I think, going up against Atlanta to keep the ball in the park. And then Bryce Elder, yikes. That's a really tough sledding for him going into Tampa Bay. I like Junior Caminero to maybe get hot this weekend. And yeah, Atlanta 0-7 to start the season. No team has ever started 0-7 and gone on to win to make the postseason. Chris Sale looking less dominant, last year's NL Cy Young winner. Of course, the Jurickson Profar suspension really hurts them, but I wouldn't put it past them to somehow sneak in and become that first team to start 0-7 and make the playoffs.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me. I mean, look, the odds still favor them. They're -$2 to make the playoffs, +170 to miss. It does seem like the NL will be competitive. San Diego is a team I had pinned for about a 500 ball club coming into the year. They're off to a great start. I don't know, do you like the value at least with Atlanta +170 to miss, or do you think they're going to figure it out once Acuna and Strider return?
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. Getting Strider back is huge, and then Acuna, I know he's talked about maybe running a little less, maybe as he gets his legs back under him, he's not quite as dynamic as we've seen in the past, but I do like their chances here. It's still super early in the season. Their prospects don't look nearly as good as they did 2 weeks ago, but it's only 2 weeks. I think Austin Riley will get hot at some point, and Michael Harris will get hot. So, I still think they have a good chance. They were my pick to actually win the NL East, but I wouldn't say that's completely out the window. But I think just more generally for a wild card spot, they have a chance.
Yeah, I was on the Phillies to win that division, although, as a Mets fan, it certainly wouldn't bother me if I'm wrong there. And and my Queens boys end up pulling it out. Speaking of my Mets, and, we were talking Braves-Rays. Speaking of teams playing in minor league parks, the Mets going to Sacramento for a weekend series with the A's. Short favorites, only 35 cents in the Friday contest opposite the Athletics, who are +115. What do you make of that? Park of this series, 5 out of the 6 games there have gone over in Sacramento. Are we playing overs this series? What do we like?
Well, I'm seeing the over-under for tomorrow at 10 runs, which reflects, like what you said, the offense there so far. Like with Steinbrenner Field, Sutter Health Park is playing very hitter-friendly. I actually, I like the over. I think until further notice, we're probably taking the over in this park because weather's still heating up. The ball's flying there, and I think this could be a good spot for Juan Soto to really, explode, and some of these other Mets who are struggling a little bit, like Mark Vientos, perhaps to get on track. And how about Tyler Soderstrom and the like? Tyler Soderstrom's been awesome, hitting for a ton of pop. And how about Jacob Wilson? Kind of a dark horse rookie of the year candidate in the American League, at least coming into the year. Now he's kind of vaulted up the list. How about 2 strikeouts and 48 plate appearances for Jacob Wilson? It's pretty impressive to see that kind of bat to ball in today's age where so many guys are striking out, batting in the 220s. You had a guy like Jacob Wilson's kind of a throwback.
Yeah.
And I like what he does. And, until I see this team cool off and to see the park start to settle in to more normal-ish numbers, I think this is going to be a sweet spot for offense.
Absolutely. Clay Link with us on the Progressive Guest Line now, MLB senior editor over at Rotowire. Follow him on Twitter at ClayWLink. And it's funny you bring up Jacob Wilson and the low strikeout numbers. I was just saying earlier in the show, talking about the monster day Stephen Kwan had on Thursday in the Guardians' 6-1 win, how, what he does kind of a lost art. Low strikeout guy, great leadoff hitter, great OBP, great ball to bat skills, or bat to ball rather, as you were just saying. But let's talk Jacob Wilson. It's a perfect segue. Let's talk AL Rookie of the Year. Some people would say it's Christian Campbell's award. Obviously, it's way too early in the season to determine that, but Campbell sitting there, plus 215, Wilson plus 310, and then some separation. Jason Dominguez, the next guy on the list at 9-1. What do you make of this awards market right now? Anyone worth a play to you?
It's really interesting because I think when we talked a couple weeks ago, Jason Dominguez was the top of the list with the shortest odds, and then when Cam Smith of Houston was announced for the opening day roster, he briefly jumped to the top of the list in terms of betting odds, but yeah, I think Christian Campbell is now looking like the front runner pretty clearly, and it might be tough to dethrone him, but it's not like he's a lock by any means. He's got a good power-speed combination, but there are a number of guys. Jack Leiter was looking great before the blister issue popped up. I still do like Cam Smith, but maybe a bit more of an adjustment period for him than I expected coming into the season. And how about this for a real deep sleeper? I mean, prospect heads are very familiar with him, but Jack Caglione, of the Royals, not called up or anything, but I mean, the power he displays is unreal. So if he were to maybe get a call up a bit sooner than expected, he'd really pay off.
Yeah, I mean, look, Caglione, if he was on the Royals squad to start the year, would probably be up there with Dominguez around the third shot on the board. It's just a matter of if, not when, he'll make a difference. Or rather, when, not if, he'll make a difference in this league. Let's look at the National League side of things. Does it surprise you with the slow start? Dylan Cruz still the favorite?
A little bit. He was, I think, the last Major League regular, so to speak, to get a hit this season. Does now have 5 hits, but 5 for 39, batting 128. No extra base hits so far, at least coming into today's action. No extra base hits for Cruz so far this season, and a 299 OPS. I'm a little surprised that he's still up there, but Roki Sasaki of the Dodgers been pretty disappointing. I think the expectation is that he'll be fine and a very good Major League pitcher long term, but struggling with his command and control, and did have a step forward in his last outing, but kind of showing some of these issues that could open the door for somebody else. Maybe like Zach Veen finally got the call. Some people were expecting him to start the season with the Rockies, but they did make that move just the other day. Had his first extra base hit in the majors and first RBI today against the Brewers. So I think Veen, looking at where he is behind Dylan Cruz, Matt Shaw, Sasaki, he has some appeal for his odds. And Bubba Chandler, too. I don't know when he'll be called up, but I expect him to have a lot of success right away in the major leagues, Bubba Chandler.
I love it. Clay, really appreciate the time, the analysis, and the breakdowns. Thanks so much for hopping on, my friend.
Hey, Joe. Good talking to you. Thank you, sir.
All right. Clay Link, senior MLB editor over at Rotowire. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at ClayWLink. Coming up next, more picks, more winners, more cashing out with Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through your Thursday night into your Friday morning, getting your weekend started here. How about Minnesota? The T-Wolves trying to get their weekend going. They need a big weekend to get out of the play-in tournament, and this is a big first step. Up 15 in Memphis, 126-111. They were laying 2 pre-flop. They were down 5 at halftime. It's been a massive second half. Mainly was a massive third quarter for the Timberwolves in southwestern Tennessee, as they are 6 minutes away from creating a 3-way tie for the 6, 7, and 8 spots in the West between them, Memphis, and Golden State. Keep you updated on this one as it goes final. Phillies Braves back in action after an over 2-hour rain delay in Atlanta. 1-1, 8th inning. Under was the play there, man. Jesus Luzardo, Spencer Schwellenbach, both looked great. You've got, who is that, Aaron Bummer on the bump, taking on Bryce Harper to start the 8th inning. That's why the odds have shortened up a bit. Atlanta was about a 60-cent favorite coming out of the rain delay. After the scoreless 7th inning for each side, now Atlanta just a 35-cent favorite. Philly plus 105 on the money line in a 1-1 game with Harper leading off here in the 8th. Actually, guys, could we please get that on in here now that that game is back and up and running? Would love to be able to see how that one ends. It's going to be Harper, Castellanos, and Kepler for the Phillies. 3-4-5, heart of the lineup against Aaron Bummer, who's out there for his second consecutive inning of work for the Braves. So Luzardo, 6 innings, 1 earned, 6 Ks. Schwellenbach, 6 innings, 1 earned, 5 Ks. It was a solo homer that Schwellenbach allowed. The first earned run he's allowed of the year in 3 starts. How about that? He's been sensational. If there was no rain delay, Schwellenbach probably would have kept going. He was only at 81 pitches through 6. Luzardo was at 98, so his day was done. Went over 5.5 Ks did Luzardo, but that was heavily juiced. I don't know if you took it. We went the alt market. We went 7 Ks at plus, what did we get that at? 45 cents. And he loses that on the hook. Schwarber, 3rd inning, took Schwellenbach 429 feet to center. How about that? As Harper walks, lefty on lefty. So the Phillies have the leadoff guy on, top of the 8th, and that has shifted Philadelphia to favorites. Wow, that was a 35-cent walk from plus 105 to minus 130 in Atlanta. Braves, even money. Looks like Bummer's getting pulled. Yep. It was lefty on lefty. Do your job, to quote Bill Belichick. And he did not do his job. Did not get the out. So now Castellanos and Kepler up. And they will face a new pitcher for the Braves. They announced who's coming in? No, we'll wait and see. Quick turnaround for each team. Philly getting ready for the weekend. They'll be headed to St. Louis. Nice late flight. Wow, what is it, 11:48 on the East Coast right now? So Philly's going to be flying into St. Louis. Luckily, they have a late start Friday night. And the Braves, easier turnaround, will just be traveling from Atlanta down to Tampa Bay. Much quicker trip. As Bryce Elder is set to oppose Taj Bradley, the Rays 20-cent favorites in that one on Friday. Understandably so. They've got a, I would say, considerable advantage in the pitching matchup. Bryce Elder coming in with an ERA up near 7. Elder was gifted a massive lead, I believe it was his last time out against Blake Snell, and did nothing with it. Coughed it right up. Dodgers ended up winning that game 6-5. Ohtani hit the walk-off homer to lead off the, or maybe it was the second batter in the bottom of the 9th inning. And Atlanta went from leading that game 5-0, all unearned runs, by the way, first 2 frames, to losing 6-5 last time Bryce Elder was on the bump for the Braves. Now in Tampa, if you shop around the Rays, best price you can get is Tampa. It looks like minus 112. Right here at Circa, they're minus 17 cents. You can get the Braves as high as plus $1.10, and the Rays as low as minus $1.12 if you shop around. VSiN.com, best place to shop around for all the odds in town and the major mobile players. One-stop shop for price shopping. Also, for great info on betting splits. Because if you want to know where the money is really going, you need a VSiN Pro subscription. Unlike other sources, our betting splits come straight from Circa and DraftKings, giving you insight into where the sharp action's landing. Circa is known for taking big bets from the pros, while DraftKings provides a broader market perspective, meaning you're getting the real action, not just public money, but the kinds of wagers that move the lines. See the percentage of bets versus the handle on every game across every major sport, helping you make smarter, more informed bets. Get VSiN's summer special right now for just $59 until August 1st. VSiN.com/subscribe. Other notables on, here we go. De Los Santos in for the Braves Gets Castellanos. Looked like he went. Nope. Blue says no. 1-1 count. Other notable action for Friday on the Diamond. We touched on it with our buddy Clay. The Mets and the Athletics. Griffin Canning on the bump for the Mets. And he was a guy who, when they signed him, now, mind you, he's made, 2 starts? So we're not buying too heavily into stats this point in the year. I'll let you know what the stats are, but we're not going to buy too heavily into him. 0-1 with a 2.79. Certainly respectable. I mean, this is a guy who has had a ballooned ERA for quite some time with the Angels, right? Has not exactly been a success story, but he was one of those guys, kind of like last year when you look at who the Mets brought in a season ago, and Severino came off a terrible year, and just all these guys getting turned around by Jeremy Hefner, the Mets pitching coach, saw Canning as a project. And, first start of the year, 5 2/3 strong, 2 earned against Houston, got the loss, but really good start. Then 4 innings of one-run ball against Toronto, 6 strikeouts in that one, so couldn't qualify for the win, but again, a strong start. And now he goes up against the Athletics in what's proven to be a hitter's park. This will be a tough challenge. He's pitched in Oakland plenty when he was an Angel, has Griffin Canning, but now in Sacramento, the bats have been alive. He'll go opposite the lefty, J.P. Sears. You see some other notables on your screen. Aaron Nola for the Phils, opposite Andre Palante for the St. Louis Cardinals. And then the game I'm into, Dodgers, Cubs, Yamamoto on the bump. Dodgers $2 favorites, opposite Matt Boyd, the veteran lefty, who is off to a hell of a start. Has not allowed an earned run yet for the Cubbies. Castellanos with a full count here. Memphis got it to 10. Now they're down 12. Grizzlies have the ball in these horrid red jerseys. Put up a corner 3. No good. Was looking for the foul. That was an ugly shot. Down 12. Inside 3 minutes to go. They got the steal. They got a 3. It's a brick. Another offensive rebound, though. So Memphis giving it their best shot. 2.5 to go, down 12 here, but not able to get these shots to fall down the stretch. So the Dodgers, $2 favorites against the Cubbies. And I don't know if we'll have this up yet. We certainly will have the market later on in the show. I'm going to be looking at the Dodgers to not bat in the bottom of the 9th. Because I don't want to lay $2 on them. That's absurd. But Yamamoto has had really good success against current Cubs hitters. So we don't have that to not bat bottom 9 market yet. That'll certainly be up before the show's conclusion. We'll look for that later on. Cubs hitters against Yamamoto, just 5 for 39, 15 strikeouts. Actually, he's already faced him this season. That opener in Tokyo. 5 innings, 1 earned. Only 4 strikeouts in that one. But, 72 pitches. You're light on pitches. It's in Tokyo, different atmosphere, Now he's at home, and Yamamoto's looked sensational. He's 1-1 with a 1.69 to start the year. And if I can get about 50 cents better, I'll lay 40, 45 cents on Dodgers to not bat bottom 9. They're 10-4 on the year, but that was an ugly road trip. A 2-4 road trip at Philly, at D.C. Now they're back home where they're 6-0. I think the Dodgers are going to start the weekend off with a bang. Jacob deGrom, by the way, he's on the bump. 2 starts, no decisions. Jacob deGrom, the king of the no decision, back from his days with the Mets, where he'd go 7 innings in his Cy Young campaign, 7 innings of shutout ball, and get a no decision. They lose 1-0. deGrom, he's looked good so far. Looked sensational, I thought, his first time out against the Red Sox. Got touched up a little bit his last start. He's opposite Bryce Miller, the young righty for Seattle, who I think a lot of people had high expectations for coming into the year. He was sensational a season ago. It's year 3 for Miller, coming off a year where he was 12-8 with a 2.9 ERA. Had a WAR of 3.5. A lot of people thought the 26-year-old here in year 3 would do big things. Been a rough start. 3 or more earned runs allowed each of his first 2 starts against the Athletics and the Giants. Let's see if he fares better now against a team that doesn't grace the Bay Area. More cashing out. Up next, we'll continue to dive into some weekend series prices across baseball. Don't go anywhere. You're locked in with me, Joe Ceraulo.